Today we are going to share a very interesting video that Pet Talk Sports published about Liverpool's weaknesses.
In 2025, nobody saw Liverpool coming.
Liverpool are the champions for their people, with their people.
He's a new coach, nobody knows him.
I mean, obviously we didn't know too much about him.
In 2026, they have been the topic of every conversation.
Jamie, there will be a lot of expectation around this Liverpool side because of the signings that have been added, because they are the defending champions.
They went shopping like champions.
So if you do the same as we did last year, we will probably not be able to win it again. So we have to improve the players that are still there, and we've tried to bring new energy in, but also weapons, as you call it.
Big signings.
Florian Wirtz over the last 3 seasons has the most assists of any player who's played in the Bundesliga. That's 3 seasons of playing in different formations, different positions, but the same quality.
Fresh faces.
I'm convinced that Uwe Getike is very, very, very good at football.
And a squad that looks terrifying on paper.
Because there's no doubt the squad is much stronger than it was last season.
Now though, everyone's watching, and there are far bigger expectations.
In the terms of Liverpool is winning, it's true. Yeah.
Getting to the top was hard, but staying there will be even harder.
How'd you go again? Do you think it'll be harder to retain it than winning it this season?
Not harder, but just as hard.
Slot's new Liverpool side will give us some entertaining games, but it will also give fans a lot of heart attacks. New players always tilt the balance, and we have seen from the get-go that Liverpool look far more vulnerable defensively. In the beginning, most people ignored it because they thought it's just preseason, but then the issues were seen again in the Community Shield.
I spoke to a couple of the sporting directors. They're always going to buy a centre defender. Right. It was just a matter of when. I don't think losing to Crystal Palace sped up that process any differently. That was always a priority for them.
Liverpool's attack looked unreal, with Ekitike immediately showing why he's worth the big bucks.
He's worth the shooting chance! Oh, that will certainly do for starters!
Wirtz assisting Ekitike gave Liverpool fans a look into their new dynamic duo. 2 guys that can help Salah out. Then in the 21st minute, another new signing made his mark, Jeremy Frimpong.
Oh, and extraordinary!
Everything was going well until Liverpool were carved open and ended up losing on pens. Every counter against the Reds turned into a high goal scoring opportunity. It also didn't help that Van Dijk, who in my opinion is the best center back in the world, looked like Dutch Maguire out there, making 2 very poor individual errors.
Virgil van Dijk is going to have a poor season, and you can clearly see that in some ways he's getting older, his timing's a little bit off. For the equalising goal, if you look at his positional play on the equalising goal, he's trying to play offside when all of his teammates around him are 2-3 yards beneath him.
Now we can always brush off the Community Shield. It's one of those games where you can pretend it means something if your team wins it, but you can just as easily call it a glorified friendly if you lose. But the same pattern was visible again in opening day against Bournemouth.
You mentioned rest defence there, and it's been a problem in the pre-season, in the Community Shield, and here today.
Ekitike again showed us magic. He even got an assist to Gakpo, making him the first ever Frenchman to score and assist on his Premier League debut. He's actually the second Liverpool player to achieve this feat after Darwin Núñez. Núñez really sold Liverpool fans a dream. Unreal debut, played well in the Community Shield, then he headbutted a guy in the second Premier League game of the season. Massive respect for his contributions over the years, but after that debut, I know many Liverpool fans thought they had gotten the next best striker in the world. Instead, they got a guy who kind of became a meme. Anyways, while Liverpool's attack looked quality again, defensively they were more open than Salah's forehead before he went to Turkey. They blew a 2-goal lead and had to rely on a Mamma Mia moment to take the 3 points. While the money that was spent up front was providing dividends, their defense was very open. Just like the Crystal Palace game, it was so easy for Bournemouth to just hit them on the counter. Liverpool have so much quality that everybody wants to get forward, so when they lose the ball, it's basically a free path to goal. In the past, defensively, Robertson would shuffle across to make a 3-back in possession, creating this 3-1 shape in the build-up. But now, with the arrival of Kerkez and Frimpong, the shape is different. We've seen Gravenberch drop between the center backs, while Kerkez push pushes wide and Frimpong pushes higher up or tucks into a narrow position. It was a similar story in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace. This time it was Curtis Jones or Dominik Szoboszlai who would drop back to make a temporary back three, letting Kerkez and Frimpong push up and start higher up the pitch. When it wasn't a midfielder dropping between the center backs, sometimes either Szoboszlai or Gravenberch would move into the half spaces to keep the back three shape. This helped the ball move quicker across the defense and opened up more passing options in the first phase of Liverpool's build-up. We saw this here and there last season as well, but it's been happening a lot more often this season. But this also means that when they lose the ball higher up the pitch, they are way more exposed on the counter. It also doesn't help that Liverpool don't have a natural holding midfielder. Yes, there's Endo, but he's the closer. He's not a guy that's regularly in the starting 11. They got away with it in 2025 because Gravenberch and McAllister were so good together. But keep in mind that Gravenberch's form dipped late in Liverpool's title-winning run. Now that was partly because of fatigue, but also because opponents started targeting him as a main spark in Slot's attack. The upside was that it gave McAllister more room to shine. With new players coming in and more managers watching Slot ball, the Dutch Lex Luthor knows that he has to keep his team unpredictable. The tweak that we have seen him use in the build-up might not be used every game, but it's another way for him to stay flexible and move the ball around through the thirds. As I stated earlier, in the 2025 season, Slot's go-to midfield was Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. They were all great on the ball, but also worked well together defensively. From the number 10 role, Szoboszlai was the engine. The guy led the press and covered the spaces behind Salah. Then behind him was McAllister and Gravenberch, who formed a solid partnership, and then behind those two was Van Dijk and Konate. In this system, Liverpool were very compact and ready to stop counterattack. Now though, with Wirtz as the new number 10, that balance has shifted. Now I'm not saying that the 22-year-old wonder kid is a problem, but Liverpool's midfield needs to adjust to fit him in. Once again, we saw this against Crystal Palace, where both of Palace's goals came from playing straight through Liverpool's midfield. Now in fairness, the double pivot that day was Jones and Szoboszlai, not Gravenberch and McAllister. Still though, it's something that Slot needs to be wary of. For the first goal, Warren got past Wirtz and Szoboszlai, and with Jones sitting too deep, Kamara slipped Mateta in behind. Alisson bailed them out at first, but Palace still won a penalty soon after. For the second, Warren again broke through three midfielders to find Sarr after Gakpo lost the ball. It wasn't Van Dijk's best game, and with two new fullbacks in the line, the lack of chemistry between them showed, especially in the messy positioning for that second goal. Now usually I wouldn't put too much analysis into one game, but conceding goals has been a theme for Liverpool early in this season. With Gravenberch locking down the number 6 role, the number 8 position will be key to making this midfield work. McAllister started the preseason late while recovering from his injury at the end of the previous year, which gave Szoboszlai a chance to prove himself there. He struggled against Palace, but alongside Gravenberch and Wirtz, he had done well against Athletic Club. Then against Bournemouth, his performance was a bit up and down. Wirtz's arrival has upped the competition in midfield. He won't be expected to match Szoboszlai's work rate because Liverpool want him in the final third pulling the strings. But that also means that they have to find a new way to keep the balance right, because Szoboszlai brought the pace and power. Meanwhile, McAllister can control a game and quietly cut out counters in ways that Szoboszlai can't. Will Gravenberch, McAllister, and Wirtz be the trio that works? Only time will tell. The plus side is that further forward, Liverpool's attack looks way sharper. Wirtz and Ekitike have changed the look of the front four, because now the Reds have a technical playmaker and a complete 9 that Slot didn't have before. In the previous season, Szoboszlai and Diaz's combo was great at pressing and keeping possession, but the new duo is way more creative and more likely to score. We've seen so far already the Wirtz-Ekitike link-up, add in Salah and Gakpo on the wings, and Liverpool are very exciting to watch. Wirtz has a free role, popping all over the pitch, but we have seen a reliance to attack towards the left with him and Gakpo there. It was from that side that Liverpool's goal against Palace came. Previously, Slot's attack revolved around Salah. With these new signings, that's no longer the case. In theory, the left-sided focus should give Salah and Frimpong more room to work with, but against Palace, we saw that Salah barely got the ball. But that's natural. Linking up with a completely different set of players and building up that chemistry will take time. The bigger concern is depth. Selling Diaz and Nunez has left Liverpool with few senior forwards. In the previous season, Liverpool's bench could change a game, but now Slot has to rely on changing the shape instead of necessarily bringing on like-for-like power. Out wide, Kerkez and Frimpong could be game changers. Slot signed two of the most attacking fullbacks in Europe, which is perfect for his style. Kerkez's underlapping run drags defenders around, while Frimpong's pace and direct runs get him into scoring position, and he can even fill in for Salah during AFCON. Slot's plan is to have one fullback tuck in while the other pushes high, but the thing is both of these guys love going forward, so they'll have to watch for counters. Another area to improve is set pieces. Klopp's Liverpool were actually very good from dead ball situations, but in the 2025 season under Slot, Liverpool ranked near near the bottom for set-piece goals, despite creating plenty of chances. All jokes aside, losing Trent's delivery hasn't helped either, but I think throughout the season we will see some interesting tweaks. We already got a look into Kerkez, Gravenberch, Endo, and Bradley all practicing long throw-ins. Against teams that sit deep, improving set-piece threats could be the key to breaking down those teams. The other big shift is that Liverpool are no longer the underdogs.
What I've noticed is that most, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of my team meetings before the game, I can just throw them away in the bin because so many teams did something different against us than they did the 5, 6, 7 or 8 games before they played against us, especially later onwards in the season.
In the beginning, everything was so fresh, especially after Liverpool spanked Manchester United. That game really got the attention of the footballing world. Not because United were dominated, that's just your average Premier League weekend, but because of the way Slot talked about his tactic.
So we said they're going to press differently, so be prepared for that. So we tried to find out what they were trying to do.
He shared his blueprint for the world to see and exposed every weakness that United and Ten Hag had live on TV.
Last season they were man marking on the midfield and they had a press with the 7-9-11, so with the striker and one of the wingers jumped with him. This season they are more with a 9 and 10 press.
Premier League fans were shocked. Some even thought that he was being too open and that it would cost him. It did not. Then another statement win came in the bald derby, Slot versus Pep. At this point, many felt that Liverpool were still in their honeymoon period. They thought that it was only a matter of time before City came back in their usual way. Well, that match showed that one bald head was shinier than the other. Liverpool destroyed the defending champs and sent a message to the rest of the Premier League.
What Arne Slot is doing with this Liverpool team is nothing short of astounding.
The Arne Slot era was here. They were so dominant that year that the league was wrapped halfway through the season. You had Liverpool players going to Dubai, coming back to play a Premier League game that didn't matter because they were already champions, and then going back to Dubai again. These guys for real had been partying since April. Alisson even said that he was tired of celebrating.
To be honest, I am a little bit tired of partying. 4 weeks in a row, like celebrating.
Winning the Premier League was incredible, but defending it, that's the real test. Everyone is coming for the Kings now. The second factor that Slot has to be aware of is rotations, and it's actually something that he's already discussed.
I, at this moment, believe because we didn't rotate that much, that's also the reason why we won the league. But maybe it's also the reason why we were not at our best, Paris Saint-Germain away, and the final in the League Cup.
You see, the 2024-2025 season could have been even more magical for Liverpool fans. At one point, they were on their way to a treble, and they ended up falling short not because they weren't good enough, but because they were exhausted. The loss to Newcastle really stung. A cup final, and they didn't look anywhere near as sharp as they had done all season.
They were flat. They lacked energy, and Arne Slot, it's been a big week for him, and it's all fell apart.
Then the Champions League defeat to PSG hurt even more, especially because Liverpool gave them their toughest fight on their way to the trophy. Think about it, they were a kick away from knocking out the Parisiens, and now they had to watch on TV while PSG lifted the UCL trophy. And they didn't just win it, they absolutely spanked Inter Milan in the final. Meanwhile, Slot and his team watched that game with the feeling of, hey, that could have been us there. Now, having said that, while they did put in a good fight in the second leg at Anfield, the first leg they were dominated. Alisson was the only reason that the Reds walked away without conceding 5 like Inter did. But those 2 losses were big lessons.
Most of my time that I think about football, people think that I think about the tactic sports, but that's the opposite of what is true.
Slot realized that he needs to rotate more. He's got to give players some rest, trust his bench. Now, he did do it on many occasions. Gakpo and Diaz often interchanged. Some matches Szoboszlai would be playing as the 10, other matches it would be Curtis Jones. Jones would sometimes even play as one of the central midfielders. Bradley stepped up for Trent on multiple occasions. It's a hard balance. Everybody wants game time. In fact, as Slot has said himself, the lack of rotation was one of the factors that helped them win the league. The players played so much with each other that they were all on the same wavelength. Klopp used to do the same thing. But across a whole season with multiple competitions, this won't always work. Rotations are needed. But then it gets tricky, because Slot wants quality, but not too much where egos start to get in the way. Slot wants players who accept their roles.
Playing together where everybody accepts his role, so you cannot have 3 Mo Salahs for one position, because then my life is going to be hell.
He needs balance. depth, not drama. This isn't Manchester United. Now, Liverpool's new signings will help with depth and bring excitement, but they also bring some challenges. Frimpong, Wirtz, big names, big talent, but they're gonna have to adapt to England, to Anfield, to Slot's system. That's gonna take some time. Frimpong has played in England before, though it was only at the City Academy, so he knows about the culture and the country, but it's gonna take him at least a few games to adjust to the Premier League. And that's the first thing that players talk about when they come to England, the speed of the game. Well, considering that Frimpong is rapid, he should hit the ground running. But while he's electric going forward, can he defend in a back four? He has just spent the last few seasons playing as a right wing back in Alonso's 3-back system, which is very different from the 4-2-3-1 that Slot uses. So naturally, it's going to take him a bit of time to adapt, especially since even for the national team, Frimpong plays more forward as a right winger. But Slot and his team will be very aware of that. They would not have signed this guy if they thought he was a defensive liability. He has qualities that you cannot coach. You cannot coach speed, fearlessness, dribbling. You can improve these aspects, but a lot of it is natural. You cannot teach someone to be as fast as Frimpong, to be as direct as him, but you can teach a player defensive positioning and instruct him on when to get forward and when to stay back. All I know is that for the entire year under Slot, Trent wasn't exposed defensively. He had only one really bad game against United, and that was probably because his head was already thinking about the sunny beaches of Madrid. Frimpong won't make those mistakes. He is a player who is buzzing to be at Liverpool, the club his dad supports, a club that he wanted to join ages ago before he went to Man City. Yes, Frimpong almost joined the Reds when he was very young, but at that time his family did not have access to a car, so he went to City because they were closer.
But I chose Liverpool first, and I was gonna sign for them, but back then driving wasn't a thing, you know, like my family weren't driving like that, and it was far.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously Man City was local, so then I tried Man City next.
So you combine a player who is shaking with excitement to be at the club with one of the best man managers out there, and you guys don't think they will figure it out? Come on. While Frimpong replaces Jude Bellingham's boyfriend, Slot also got a new left back. Kerkez won't need that much time to adapt, as he has already spent the last few seasons dominating the Premier League. He's another young, hungry, super athletic player. Slot had actually mentioned throughout the year that he wants the athleticism of his team to increase. Kerkez comes from Bournemouth. He's coming from a system where he didn't see that much of the ball. That's gonna change now. He's gonna get more touches, more opportunities to attack, which is great because he has all the tools to really make an impact. He scored an absolute banger against Newcastle in 2025.
Bournemouth still hungry for more.
Just imagine him overlapping Gakpo in the attacking third. The opponent has to pick their poison. Do you close down Gakpo to avoid the finesse shot but leave Kerkez open, or do you back off to cover the overlap and then risk Gakpo curving it around everyone into the top corner? As good as he is, Slot will still need to find the right balance to get the best out of the Hungarian. Does he want him overlapping, underlapping, or inverting in? I'm sure they're going to experiment around a little, but out of all the new signings, this guy is the safest when it comes to adapting right away. Now Wirtz is the big one. He has the biggest price tag, biggest hype, biggest name, but also the biggest expectations. He's a magician, but where do you play him? Does he go straight into the number 10 role? Does he play as a winger? Is he a false 9? Slot has to find the right spots for him to shine, because we have seen what this guy can do at Leverkusen. We're talking about a player that can take over a game, make moments of magic out of nothing. Only Salah can do that on a consistent basis on this Liverpool team. But where will the German be at his best? That's the mystery that Slot has to solve, and that's why the Dutch Lex Luthor gets paid the big bucks. Wirtz's arrival will hopefully fix another issue that Slot talked about, which is that he wants to see more goals and assists from his midfield.
In his pressing game, and I think something that we have to work on with him is that he's also even more involved in scoring goals and creating chances for us, because I think last season he scored 3, if I remember correctly. And for an attacking midfielder at Liverpool, his numbers needs to go up.
Szoboszlai has been great. His work rate and movement without the ball was essential to Liverpool's success.
Because his work rate is unbelievable. He just keeps on running with the highest intensity. And that is so important for a team that wants to compete for something.
But as an attacking midfielder, you also have to provide output. Maybe with more competition, he can go back to scoring like he was doing in the Bundesliga. If not though, no problem, because Wirtz can provide the goals.
Oh, what a strike! stunning goal!
Now behind those guys, McAllister and Gravenberch held down the central midfield position like bosses. I mean, Slot transformed Gravenberch into one of the best sixes in the league after another summer where they couldn't sign a holding midfielder. He was fantastic in that position.
I would argue that without Gravenberch, Liverpool might not be top of the league.
And him being so good helped McAllister push forward, which allowed the Argentine to also perform better. Klopp kept using McAllister as a sole 6, which of course he can play, but this guy is an 8. Argentinian Modric I call him, because he will help you do the dirty work in the middle of the park, but he's also a magician on the ball. You don't want to waste how good this guy is going forward by having him be further back. Now, the lack of depth in this position is a bit concerning though. Curtis Jones was used as a rotational option and Endo came out to close games, but I'm not sure if that's enough for another season. You look at how many competitions there are and you want to be able to rotate without seeing a drop off in quality. So even though Gravenberch has been fantastic, I do think Liverpool should still be on the lookout for a holding midfielder. Despite the amount of new signings, Liverpool still need another attacker. It's probably why they have been doing everything they can to get Isak. While it would be amazing to pick up a player of that caliber, in general, they need more depth up front. Their margin for error feels smaller than last year. Nunez was sold to Al Hilal, Luis Diaz was sent to Bayern, and Jota, rest in peace, is no longer with us. Trent was also a massive plus in the attack, and he's at Madrid now. Even with those guys, Liverpool definitely needed at least 2 more players in the attack, but now they definitely need more tools. Ekitike has shown that he can be that guy, so you probably don't even need to spend big bucks on a striker. You just need to bring in other players that can add depth, because one injury to Ekitike, and Slot is going to have to run a midfielder up front. Then we have the goalie dilemma, something that I haven't seen many people discuss. Alisson has been world class for years. Just look at his performance against PSG in the Champions League.
Alisson, you haven't faced many teams this season that have had that many shots at your goal. Was that your best personal performance of the season?
Yeah, probably of my life, I think.
But now enters Mamardashvili, the Georgian giant who has cat-like reflexes. So which of them starts? Alisson has the experience, but Mamardashvili is the future. Before it was relatively easy. Kelleher was a beast and stepped up tremendously throughout the season, but everyone knew that he was the number 2. In fact, that's exactly why he left, because he felt that he could be a number 1 goalie for a different team. And he had every right to believe that because he was really good whenever he was called upon. But Mamardashvili is not going to want to be the number 2. At least I doubt it. So Slot has to decide. Does he trust the guy who just helped them win the Premier League, or is it time to pass on the torch? Now, while Slot figures out who's going to be in between the sticks, he also has to figure out another issue on the other side of the pitch. Mo Salah had another fantastic season, but he's not 25 anymore. As he ages, where do you play him? Do you begin to manage his minutes? Because Liverpool won the league very much relying on this guy. It was Salah and Inshallah. I mean, the guy had the most goals, most assists, most goals plus assists, most big chances created. I can sit here for hours listing the stats that he had, the records he broke. He was by far and away the best player not just on Liverpool, but the entire Premier League. But it's not sustainable to expect him to do it all over again. Can Wirtz take over some of the creative load? His presence will definitely help, not just statistically, but now teams won't be able to throw 2 to 3 defenders at the Egyptian. It seems to me that Salah is going to become more of a creator as he ages, maybe even start playing more centrally. He will get his goals, but now he will continue to regularly get double-digit assists. Wherever he plays or whoever he plays with, Slot has to find a way to keep Mo fresh and effective. Now, the center back situation is going to be a problem for Slot. Konate is entering the last year of his contract. You hope that the Frenchman can stay, but you never know in these situations. He might want to go somewhere else for the money or look for a different experience. In the 2025 season, he was a rock at the back, just a complete beast. He was always fast and strong, but we also saw him take a big leap in terms of his on-ball ability. Losing him would be bad. Losing him for free would be even worse. And then you have the captain, Virgil van Dijk. Still elite, but he's getting older. One injury can leave this entire back line exposed. So Slot and the team have to be thinking of a center back option even if Konate stays. Because there's no way that Liverpool can play Endo as a center back again, no matter how good he played. If they want to win everything, they're gonna need at least one more center back. Because this is his team now. A lot of people saw the 2025 title team as Slot building on Klopp's foundation, Klopp's players, his signings, his culture. And the transition was seamless because, as Slot has said time and time before, there are more similarities than differences between his style and Jurgen Klopp's. But now it's becoming Slot's Liverpool. His signings, his identity, his culture. And the expectations have never been higher because now nobody is underestimating him. To see how the Dutch Caillou went from an unknown player in the 2nd division of the Eredivisie to a Premier League champion, you have to check out this documentary I made on him.